So hi and welcome to my videos. This time I'm doing the M2 medium tank. The M2 medium tank is a tier 3 medium tank of the USA, and I didn't do an intro because it's just a tier 3. I'm going to start from the entry lead doing intros because well, it's just a tier 3. I mean, you play 6 battles and you go through it and you unlock the M3 lead. Now this tank, my first thoughts of this was before I was going to buy this. Was like, this is going to be a very horrible tank because I saw so many people driving it, but for some reason with this gun you can absolutely wreck every single tank with one shot, and if you don't one shot them you will take him down in 2 shots. Trust me, this gun is absolutely great. Now before I'm going to start the review, I first want to talk about some history about this tank. Well, because this is not actually a fantasy tank, like Wargaming's has been added a lot lately. Like for instance this whole new German line, they're all fantasy tanks. The tank destroyer line here. These are all fantasy tanks. There is not a single real tank there what actually served during the war. Well, this one didn't serve during the war also because, as you know, the Americans started to well, they went into war with Europe in 1943, the D-Day invasion, and it was in 1943. This tank got on a retirement on 1942. There were better tanks of the US, like for example the Pershing or the M4. They were much better tanks, and that so the United States decided to leave this tank behind and get their M4s on the coast of Normandy. Now this tank is a quite young tank, though. You would suspect that this tank is quite old because it's so little, and it's only placed at a tier 3. It's actually the first time it's been manufactured was during 1939. So that's a pretty young tank, though. I mean, look at, well, back then, I mean, at the beginning of the war there were not a lot of good tanks. I mean, the Panzer III was a very popular tank at the early 40s, and then we have the S31, what I don't even think is in the game. See? Well, there was an S31 but I see that Wargaming doesn't actually have the tank, and the B1 of course, and then the Russians had at the BT7, but back then in the beginning of the 40s there were not really much tanks. I mean, the Germans started to manufacture their tanks during 1943. I mean, the upcoming Tiger heavy tank was a really monster in World War II, and the Russian T-34, and the French basically got destroyed before they even can start manufacture real tanks, and the Brits had the Valentine and the Churchills. This tank itself, no, I'm over the history. It didn't serve war, so I can't talk about the amazing battles, but it is a son of, well, this tank is actually split in 2 tanks. It's the M2 medium tank, and you have the M2 light tank, and I don't think the M2 light tank is in the game, I think. Well, no, actually not. So they still have to implement it, but there was a M2 light tank. It is based on 2 variants here. You cannot see here. Oh, you don't see it. Well, you can see it on Wikipedia. No, the actual review itself. What about the gun? This gun, it has 3 different kinds of guns. You have the 37mm, what's of the previous tank, the T2 light tank. You have this gun, what's basically an upgraded version from the stock gun. What's quite good though for tier 3, but not above tier 3. I mean, you have 57mm of penetration, you have 40 damage, that's not a lot at all. But you have this little gun here, the 75mm howitzer. This is a very good gun. I mean, I one-shotted so many people. I have a gameplay coming up. I don't really know how much XP I got from it, but that game was just absolutely rape. I have a 60% crew in a video also because it's the last game I actually played in this tank. So for 60% crew, this gun reloads every 4.5 seconds. Now that's pretty high though for such a low tier. Plus it's a howitzer. This gun can do damage. As a 38mm of penetration, this doesn't seem a lot, But if you do penetrate, and are not lots of tanks in tier 3 what have 38 millimeters of armor, if you do penetrate, you will do full damage, 170 millimeter, 175 of high explosive damage. High explosive damage means more critical hits, and surprisingly, although for the stats you won't actually be sure of it, this gun is surprisingly accurate though. And the aiming time for howitzer, 2.3 seconds. That is a very short aiming time. Plus, even for 60% coup, I was amazed how short the aiming time is of this gun. If you have a 100% coup, this tank will be much better. For the turret, you have two different kinds of turret. Well, they're basically the same. The only, well, they are not the same. I mean, the stock turret has only 25 millimeters of armor. This one has 28. The traverse speed is a little bit less, but look at the view range. The view range is much better. It's 90 meters more view range than the stock turret. Plus you can only mount the stock 37 millimeters on it, so it is worth it though to upgrade the turret. And then you have two different kinds of engines. I already unlocked this engine because I went off the tank destroyer line, so I don't really know how it feels with the stock engine. Well, the tracks are much better. Actually, everything is worth upgrading on this tank, and you have a tier 9 radio, it's very good also. Although, if you're driving a howitzer, I don't think you're going to snipe from up the hill there, 300 meters above. But that's it about the tank itself. Let's hop into what kind of equipment do you want to use. Well, I recommend for you to go, if you're going with a howitzer, the plus 10% to aiming speed, because this is really what you need, because howitzer do have a large aiming time, even though for this gun, well, it is not a lot, but still you can use it. Minus 10% to load them, of course. This is all because you want to derp the shit out of them. And plus 5% to crew skills I recommend for you, so you have faster reloading time, a faster aiming time, so it's very good. Know the crew skills, what you want to use on the crew skills. If you're actually planning to use this tank more than one battle, I'll go through it, but I recommend for you to use repairs. Brothers in arms, of course, is a must-have on this tank, because every single derp cannon tank you must have brothers in arms. Mentor, Sixth Sense is always the first skill I will go with. And then we have Jack of all trades is a handy thing to have, and Mentor is also a very good thing to have. Now for the gunner, I'll go with improves accuracy to turretation is a very good. Deadeye not, because mostly shooting HE shells, unless you're planning to use that other 37mm, but who is going to use that gun? I think everyone will use the 75mm. But that's really it. Only snapshot. Go for the common one on the gunner. Now for the driver, I'll recommend for you to go with clutch braking. Clutch braking is always one of the first things I research. Then go for off-road driving, and then go for smooth ride. Because the off-road driving you need to have more maneuverability, because if you want to do full damage with an howitzer you have to be on the back, because otherwise you will not do that full damage. Now for the radio man, I recommend for you to use I think Call for Vengeance is one of the only things where you actually war over, because if you end up on a tier 5 or something like that, you won't do very much with a tier 3. But the tier 3s are basically dead in 1 or 2 shots in tier 5, so Call for Vengeance, maybe you can help your team a little bit by that. And then we have the loader. For the loader, I recommend for you to use Institution maybe, because you can quickly switch between shell types, or Adrenaline Rush is a good thing to have though, because if you're really in a hurry you can use that extra 10% reload time. Now for your shell setup, I go with lots of HE shells, and maybe this is one of the only tanks I recommend for you to use gold shells, because this tank is made for fun. If you're not going through this line or something like that and you really want to keep driving this tank, you want to try it for fun. So that's why I say to you, like, buy some gold shells. This is the only tank where I recommend for you to buy gold shells, because you want to have fun on this tank. I mean, it has a 90 mm of penetration. Even in tier 5 you will do full damage with your gold shells. So go for the gold shells. Now if you're not planning to keep using this tank, just go for the HE shells and hope that you tone that up in tier 5, because this gun is good, but only up top tier. In tier 5 or tier 4 this is not a very good gun. Now what I recommend here for you is just the regular small repair kit, small med kit and the fire extinguisher. So that's it, and I'll see you in the gameplay.
Let's get this show on the road.
Okay, so welcome back to the gameplay. This is the M2 in battle. As you can see, it's, well, I haven't talked about the maneuverability. It's a quite maneuverable tank though, but it's not very slow, it's not very fast, it's average for maneuverability. Armor, it has 37 mm of sloped armor. This is one of the first tanks where they started experimenting with sloped armor, and it's, well, it turns out to be very good, and they kept it. This tank also has 4 machine guns if you haven't seen it. I mean, it has one here, one here, one here, one here. In World of Tanks it's not that great, but if you do the same thing in WoT or something like that with the new added ground forces, this tank absolutely will rock. I mean, it has 4 guns. 4 guns. You will take out those infantry nests so easily with those 4 guns. I mean, I haven't penetrated that one, but I did penetrate this one, and as you can see I did 166 damage. I 2-shot at this guy. I just needed to have 2 shots on him. No, the M8A1 is a very dangerous tank though in its own tier. I mean, a tier 5 is horrible, but in this tier, whoa. This thing can do lots of damage, the M81. So the armor and the maneuverability are good, but it's not amazing, and the armor is not going to save you. It's only 37 mm of armor. That armor is going to save you from autocannons, like for example the Panzer 1C or something like that, but not from regular guns. It can protect you from small arms fire. That was the word I was searching for.
Critical hit.
I'm going to speed up this part because there's not really much happening. Plus it only has 210 hit points, so you will... 210 hit points are in tier 3, it's directly down to 0. In tier 3, if someone is starting to shoot you, you will be dead in no time. That's one of the downsides of tier 2. Now what do we have here? Shiha. The Shiha does have good armor though. That's one of my favorite tanks also, the Shiha. Shiha is actually the best Chinese tank I tried. So I miss here, and the M8A1 got him. If I hit that shot, I will have 1 shot at him. So there we have Panzer 31. I'm loading up some gold shells, and every time if I shoot gold shells I miss. I don't know what it is, but
Enemy armor is damaged.
it's starting to be a certain event that is always playing with me. Every time if I load up gold shells I miss. And I do not load up gold shells a lot. But if I do, I miss. Every single time. But the reason why I loaded up that gold shell is because well, the battle was getting close and it was one of my last games. Plus we had a ×5 event going on. So I really had to win this battle to get my next tank. And this was actually a very good battle. I don't know how much experience I got, but I think it's over 1000 though. Without times 5, I mean. So the gun, that's not that accurate as I said though. So trying to hit that B1, but I can't hit him from every single side. But let's move up and starting to maybe kill that Matilda while just camping at the base constantly. What I was trying to kill from the beginning of the game. So I don't really know this map. I mean, I only played it for like 3 times or something like that, so I don't really know where to go. But luckily my team took care of the DWZ. I think it's a Durchbruchswagen 2, 2. So I was just dropping around here because I had no idea where I have to go to win this game. Luckily we won this game because I was going to die here from that Matilda, but was still sitting at the base.
Critical hit.
So as you can see, HE shells, they are good, but if you're not going to penetrate, you will do not lots of damage. I mean, I just done 6 damage. That's not a lot. That's not a lot at all. And I shouldn't have moved up here because I'm going to be killed by a Cruiser 4 in just a little second. I don't know where that Cruiser 4 was hiding, but he had camped very, very hard.
Critical hit.
There we go, 53 damage. And knowing not going to penetrate because the Matilda has very, very good armor frontally. I think it's 80mm or something.
We're done for. Everyone get out.
See, that Cruiser 4 was just hiding behind me there for the whole game, and I didn't even know about it. But that was it in the gameplay, and I'm going to see you in the garage to have some little bit more talking about this tank. Okay, so welcome back to the game. This is a pretty good tank. It's actually amazingly good. I didn't expect it to turn out so good. I mean, you can one-shot lots of people in your own tier, but only a top tier or a tier 4. If you end up in tier 5, you will be dead in no time because the hit points are very, very low and the arm is not going to save your life. The speed and maneuverability are okay. It could be a little bit better for a low tier vehicle, but no. And if you are planning to not use this tank during like for example, if you're like me, you want to go for the T110 E5 and you're just going through this tank because you have to, go for HE shells. If you're planning to keep this tank just to have fun, buy a few gold shells and you will do a lot of damage. Now I'm going to finish this episode, so demonstration rules, and you can choose a tank from my garage. What do you want to see me review next? Place it in the comments below, and also you want to check out my channel so you know what tanks I've already reviewed. Next week I'm going to do the T-34-1 for sure this time. I've been talking about this tank so many times. It's one of my favorite tanks. I have over 700 average experience in this tank. This tank is just absolutely great. But I still don't have a gameplay what really shows off how it feels. I mean, the average games of what I get in this tank if we win is 1200 experience, but I never really got over that 1200 experience, so I'm still waiting for the game, and then I can show you to YouTube how it's performed well. So that's it, and I'm Follow, and I'm bye.